What it do, YouTube? MJ for Life here, back again bringing you another video. This time we're going to be talking about Generation 6. It's only 2 weeks away, so I figured this would be a great time to talk about it as it's really close. So today we're going to be analyzing the potential moveset changes of previous Gen Pokemon for the new Gen 6 metagame. So we're going to start with OU, the most overused of the overused, all the way down to the least overused of the overused, which just FYI is Scizor and Dugtrio. And we're going to go through each Pokemon and weigh their pros and cons, and weigh and talk about, you know, what changes are going to happen and what will Gen 6 bring about and how their movesets change, or maybe if they will change. So without further ado, we'll get into the most used Pokemon, which is Scizor. So Scizor is #1 in the usage based on Smogon's as of August 2013, based on Smogon's data. So the pros for Scizor are going to be its typing. Steel Bug is a really good typing, with only one weakness, which would be 4 times weakness to Fire, but that's okay because Fire's not really that common of an attacking type. And it kind of is because of the steals in the OU metagame, but still, like, it's not the worst thing to be weak to, honestly. It has a new resistance it resists Fairy, so you know, Scizor can switch in on those Fairy type Pokemon and resist their stab moves. It has great attack, 130 base, 394 max, 359 I think is neutral nature, and then it has a great ability in Technician, which boosts up the power of its bullet punches to 60 base power instead of 40 base power. The cons for Scizor are going to be the loss of resistances, as in it loses its resistance to Ghost and Steel, so you're not going to be able to switch in on the Gengar as freely as you would have, like in 5th gen. You're not going to be able to switch into T-Tar, which is one of the big ones. You just can't switch into T-Tar all willy-nilly anymore, because, you know, Choice Banded Crunch is going to hurt now that you don't resist it. So let's talk about some of the older sets of Scizor, basically old sets meaning Gen 5 sets. Basically choice sets, Banded being the most common, but Choice Scarf is also useful because it's very unexpected. Then you have the SD sets, both normal as in fully offensive with like Life Orb, and then the more bulky set with like max special defense, or, you know, special defense EVs and defense EVs, maybe a mixed defensive sorts of Scizor. And those are mainly the sets that Scizor run. I mean, Scizor's move pool isn't the greatest, so I mean, you can't really get too creative with Scizor, honestly. I remember I was running like a U-turn Toxic Roost, especially defensive Scizor, but it was definitely uncanny. But more than likely the Scizor, if you're gonna run into Scizor, is gonna be Banded, and I think the next most likely set would be the SD, the bulky SD, or the Life Orb SD set. So as far as Generation 6 is concerned, Scizor has the advantage of being a Steel type, because as we all know, Fairies are going to be rampant in OU now, and they're weak to Steel. So Scizor really has the advantage of the fact that it's a Steel type, and it has Choice Banded, Technician boosted bullet punches to throw around at those Fairy types. So Scizor is probably going to remain the #1 most overused Pokemon in Generation 6. I do not think that's going to change, just because of how good it is. And I remember a time when Scizor was absolute garbage. I don't know if you guys remember, before Platinum, which is when it got access to Bullet Punch, it was absolutely awful. So it's just crazy how one thing can make you that much better. And all it did was get Bullet Punches. That's the only thing that changed between Diamond and Pearl and then Platinum. But anyway, so this new Gen set, as I got off topic there, I call it the Bulky Fairy Killer set. It's a set that I've created. It's the nature will be Adamant. EVs will be max HP, max attack, to take advantage of Scizor's natural bulk. The item could be leftovers, just for some extra recovery. Iron Plate or Muscle Band to bluff a choice set, which, you know, in the higher levels of play, you know, Iron Plate or Muscle Band might be becoming handy, because you can bluff that you're Choice Banded, or in certain cases Choice Scarfed, until you need to reveal that you're not, typically at the most convenient time for you, most inconvenient time for your opponent. But this Fairy Killer set that I've come up with is going to have U-Turn, Bullet Punch, Iron Head, and Roost. U-Turn and Bullet Punch are obviously obvious, as well as Roost, but the main move here is Iron Head. I chose Iron Head over Superpower because certain fairies, like, you know, Pokemon that may potentially be a fairy, you know, a lot of people are talking about, you know, what if Blissey becomes a fairy? What if Togekiss becomes a fairy? What if, you know, Cresselia becomes a fairy? First of all, let me just say, if Blissey Cresselia are fairies, watch out, OU, because Skarn Bliss is coming back and it's going to be stronger than ever. And Skarn Bliss and Cress, oh my goodness. I remember Gen 4, that was just a nightmare to deal with, and if that comes back in Gen 6, be prepared to bring a wall breaker. That's all I can say. But anyway, just for the simple fact that these things may be fairies, Iron Head just hits them a lot harder than Bullet Punch will, you know, and I don't really think you necessarily need Superpower as an extra covered move because you have U-turn, so anything that you can't really take on, you can just U-turn out on. And basically, mainly that's just Heatran. I mean, Heatran's really the only thing that just completely resists your moves. Gliscor, you know, bulky Pokemon like Gliscor, you know, they still take some damage from the Iron Head, so you can just U-turn out when they, if you expect the Heatran to come in and then get some switch initiative that way. But Bullet Punch and Iron Head are just to make sure, you know, as the name suggests, it's just a fairy killer set. So it's basically there to just take down the fairies. The only fairy that really can take on this set effectively is going to be Mega Mawile, because, you know, being Steel Fairy, it's not going to be weak to Steel. But Iron Head's and also Mega Mawile is also going to be getting a defense and special defense boost thanks to the Mega Stone. So we're not really we're not really sure yet how bulky Mega Mawile will actually be, but depending on how bulky it is, you know, that may be one of Scissor, maybe the only fairy that Scissor really can't take on with this fairy killer set. So now we're going to move on to the next Pokemon on the list, which is Ferrothorn. So Ferrothorn's pros are going to be its typing, its bulk, its ability, which is Iron Barb, so if they attack you with a physical attack, they lose an eighth of their health, and then it has a new resistance, as all the Steel Pokemon do, to Fairy. And again, the cons of a Steel Poke type is you won't be able to switch in on T-Tar like you would before. I mean, T-Tar used to carry Fire Blast just for Ferrothorn because Ferrothorn resisted both its stab moves. Now it no longer resists the stab moves, so, you know, T-Tar doesn't necessarily have to carry Fire Blast anymore. And you can't switch in on Gengar anymore, because you could switch in on Gengar, take a Shadow Ball, and kind of play some shenanigans with, you basically had to make him hit a Focus Blast, and especially Max Special Defense Ferrothorn could take a Shadow Ball and a Focus Blast, and then KO the Gengar back with a Gyro Ball. So that's not going to happen anymore. You can't switch in on Shadow Balls anymore. So the old sets, as in the 5th gen sets, bulky tank, physically defensive, specially defensive, mixed defensive with a bunch of moves, and then Choice Band, which is a very uncommon set, but a very, very effective set. I'll never forget the time when I was faced with Ferrothorn. I switched in my Conkeldurr expecting to take the hit, and that Choice Banded Power Up did like 58% to my Conkeldurr. I was like, God damn, that did a lot of damage. And I really feel like the Choice Band set can definitely become popular. Again, with all the fairies running around, those Choice Band Iron Heads coming from Ferrothorn, those are going to be doing a lot of damage to those fairies, and especially if they're going to switch it in, not expecting the Ferrothorn to be the standard, Stealth Rock, Spiker, Leech Seeder, something like that. Those Choice Band Iron Heads are definitely going to be something of a surprise as they get O-code potentially. And old moveset changes. This is the one thing that really peeves me about Ferrothorn users, when they put Thunder Wave and Gyro Ball on the same goddamn moveset when he has access to Iron Head. Do you guys not know that it gets Iron Head? If you're going to use T-Wave on Ferrothorn, I don't disagree with using T-Wave on Ferrothorn, because stuff like Volcarona, Gengar, Infernape, all that stuff, all those type of Pokemon that don't want to be T-Wave will switch into Ferrothorn all day, every day, that they feel like they can. But the fact that you use T-Wave plus Gyro Ball makes absolutely no sense. Use Iron Head if you're going to use T-Wave. T-Wave plus Iron Head, and that will allow you to, you have para-flinching abilities as well as the potential for them not to attack. It's just use Iron Head, please. Oh my god, if I see another Pokemon person use T-Wave and Gyro Ball, I'm going to choke you through your DS screen, I swear. But that being said, I don't really think Ferrothorn's really going to change too much. There's not really much you can do with Ferrothorn that's actually going to be good, so Ferrothorn's probably going to stay the same. Next Pokemon on the list is Politoed. Politoed is number 3 on the usage list, and Politoed's pros are its ability, which is Drizzle. Obviously, it causes the rain, and it boosts up its water type moves and weakens fire type moves, and also makes Thunder 100% accurate. So great ability, Drizzle. Bulk. Politoed is really, really good bulk. And then has a really good, nice, decent-sized move pool, so you have a lot of options when you want to run Politoed. Politoed's main weakness, however, is its lack of recovery. Outside of Rest, which isn't really a reliable recovery, it really doesn't have much recovery. So that's Politoed's main weakness. And the old sets for Politoed would be the Choice sets, Scarf Specs. I mean, Choice Specs Hydro Pump does so much damage. Oh my goodness. And then the bulky sets, the special defensive defensive, especially defensive, and then mixed defensive bulky sets. You know, Toxic Encore, Parasong, Scald, all that type of stuff. And basically moveset changes, I mean, are not really applicable. NA I have here, I don't really feel like you can do much with Politoed. There's really no need for it to change anything that it's been doing, because if it ain't broke, well, don't fix it, you know. The old saying goes. I mean, again, Politoed doesn't really care about the fairies, because fairies don't resist water, so fairy Pokemon are not going to like switching into that Choice Specs Hydro Pump, just like any other Pokemon isn't going to like it. So Politoed really doesn't have to do anything different. It's probably going to stay the same, and it's probably going to stay around that, you know, top 3, definitely top 5. It's probably going to remain in that top 5 usage area. So the next Pokemon on the list is Dragonite, and I actually was kind of surprised by this, because on my times on Showdown, I actually don't really see that many Dragonites, but apparently it's it's number 4 on the list. So Dragonite has a lot of pros. Its attack, its bulk, special attack, ability, has an amazing move pool, and it has pretty good typing. Its cons, however, are its speed, its stealth rock weakness, and Fairy is immune to Dragon. I know that reads kind of weird. That you would read it as if like Dragon is immune to Fairy, but no, Fairy is immune to Dragon. That's what I mean by Fairy immunity. Fairy is immune to Dragon, so they can switch in on your outrages. If you're locked in outrage, they can just switch in and take no damage. So some of the old sets that Dragonite used to run: Offensive Dragon Dance, Bulky Dragon Dance, Mixed Wall Breaker, Choice Bandit, and the bulky. I know that early on in 5th Gen, people were running the sub T-Wave Dragon Tail set. You don't really see that as much anymore, but definitely was an effective set to run. So Dragonite's new 6th Gen movesets are going to be, I think, the Mixed Wall Breaker is really going to be a good set, a common set for Dragonite to run. And that's going to run in Naughty Nature, Naughty or Rash Nature, Max Attack, or slash max Special Attack, depending on whether you run Naughty or Rash, and then Max Speed. You can also opt to go for Max HP, but you know, I think Max Speed is better. And then Life Orb or Lumberry for your item. Now the moves are going to be Draco Meteor, Fire Blast slash Flamethrower, Iron Tail. This is the key move for, I feel like, any dragon. If they have this, I feel like Iron Tail is going to be super meta 6th generation, especially on dragons. You know, fairies are weak to steel, and you know, Dragonite has really high attack, so you know, fairies are going to switch in thinking you're going to go for a dragon move and thinking they're going to get a free switch in, and they just eat that, you know, that max attack, that Iron Tail, and just get O-code. And I really feel like Iron Tail is going to be super meta. The con with Iron Tail is it has 75 accuracy, but you can look at it this way: it has more accuracy than Focus Blast. So you know, it'll hit more often than Focus Blast, and people don't seem to have a problem running Focus Blast. So Iron Tail is going to be meta. And now the last move slot is going to be for Earthquake or Outrage. I feel like this gen Outrage is not going to be. You're not going to see it as often because you can't just click Outrage and have no fear anymore. Like, even if they were going to switch in a Steel type, like Life Orb Outrage to like a Jirachi, they did like a clean 30-35%. And if you go you know, and that ended up being, you know, 60 to 70%, because if it hits twice, and then you know they have to attack you. You can't just do that anymore, because now if you go for Outrage and they have the Fairy, they just switch in their Fairy, you're locked in an Outrage, and it will do nothing. So they basically get a free turn to do whatever they want to you. So I don't really feel like Outrage is going to be as effective as it was last gen. So that last slot's going to be for Earthquake, obviously Fire Blast and Flamethrower for, you know, Steel, Ferrothorn mainly for Ferrothorn, and Earthquake for every other Steel type. And also Earthquake also hits Mega Maul, while it much harder than Iron Tail would or Fire Blast would. And the other type sets, Bandit and the Dragon Dance sets, I kind of combine them together. So for Bandit, you could either run Adamant or Drowly, as well as Dragon Dance. And also for Dragon Dance, you could run Naive. You wouldn't necessarily run Naive for the Bandit set, but you could. The EV's Max Attack, Max Speed, as always. Items, Choice Band, obviously, and then for the DD set, Life Orb or Lumberry. And the moves, Outrage, Dragon Claw, and then another move, Dragon Rush. Now, I know people are going to, you know, look at me funny, Dragon Rush, why would you run that? But I mean, if you're going to be running Iron Tail, I mean, Dragon Rush and Iron Tail are basically the same thing, except Dragon Rush is just the dragon version of Iron Tail, basically. And Dragon Rush, what it allows you to do is, despite its low accuracy, it allows you to, it's 100 base power, so it's a stronger than Dragon Claw, and it allows you to hit something really hard without being locked, or with the ability to switch your moves up. Yes, you know, I know more often than not, you know, when you really need Dragon Rush to hit, it's gonna miss. I mean, I know that's the risky run with Dragon Tail over Dragon Claw, or Dragon Rush over Dragon Claw, excuse me. But I just don't, you know, don't just throw it to the side just because it's of that 75% accuracy, because Iron Tail is gonna be the new thing for dragons to carry. I'm telling you that right now. So I mean, why not? I mean, Dragon Rush is basically the same thing. So if you're willing to run Iron Tail, why not run Dragon Rush? I mean, people run Focus Blast with no fear, but yet they're afraid to run Dragon Rush. You know, you know, there's some logic breakdowns there. But anyway, you know, Outrage, Dragon Claw, or Dragon Rush. Iron Tail again for fairies. Earthquake, Fire Punch for the Bandit set. Earthquake, Fire Punch, and Fire Blast or Flamethrower for the Dragon Dance set. You could run Fire Blast and Flamethrower on the Bandit set, but there's really no need. And then for the last move slot, you have Extreme Speed, Earthquake, or Fire Punch, and then obviously Dragon Dance for the Dragon Dance set. So I guess the last move slot's really up to your preference. First, whether you go for Earthquake or Fire Punch, you know, Earthquake and Fire Punch are really good in combination together, especially with Iron Tail and Dragon and the physical Dragon move. But you know, Extreme Speed is really useful as well. It definitely has its utilities. So it's just up to your personal preference. If I were going to make a choice, I would probably choose Earthquake and Extreme Speed, just because Fire Punch is really only for Ferrothorn. I mean, and Ferrothorn and Fortress. But, you know, Choice Band and Earthquake still hits those for some decent damage, so you can look at it that way. But these are probably, I feel like, going to be the most effective 6th gen sets for Dragonite. So now we're going to go into the 5th and 5th Pokemon of the top 5 most used Pokemon, which is Latios. So, Latios' pros are going to be... that's supposed to be a colon, not a semicolon, but not a big deal. Special attack and its speed are its main pros. Its con, Fairy immunity, and once again by that I mean that Fairy is completely immune to Dragon, and they will take no damage if they switch in onto a Dragon type move. So now the most common sets for Latios were definitely the Specs set, the Choice Specs set. But people, you know, every once in a while you'll run into a Scarf Latios. There's also Offensive Calm Mind that's supposed to be, wow, I should have definitely checked this. And then the 4-attack Life Orb / E-Belt set, and lastly the 3-attack Life Orb set with Roost. So some changes to its old movesets. Trick. This gen you didn't really see Latios use Trick too much. The reason is it really didn't need Trick, and here's the reason why, is because, as I said before, Draco Meteor was a win button. Even if they had Jirachi, Choice Specs Draco Meteor coming from Latios did a clean 40% to Jirachi. And that's ridiculous. That was really the main problem with Dragon. That's why Dragons were so OP. Even if you had a Pokemon like Jirachi, max special defense, and resisted, it still did a huge chunk of damage. I mean, it did a respectable amount of damage. But this generation, you can't just throw Draco Meteors and Outrages around, you know, at your will. You know, Draco Meteor is no longer a win button, and you're gonna have to run Trick on your Choice Specs and Choice Scarf sets, and that's what really gives Latios the advantage over other potential Choice Dragons, is that Latios can trick away its, you know, Specs or Scarf to a Fairy, especially defensive Fairy Wall that doesn't necessarily want to be Specs or Scarfed, and then go from there. So I think Latios does have the advantage. So a lot of people were saying, you know, you're not going to see that many Choice Dragons. I think Latios will be probably one of the only dragons that you will see that remains Choice because of its ability to trick its item away and then take their leftovers and then go from there. So I think Choice Scarfs, Choice Specs Latios is still definitely viable. As just you're going to have to run Trick basically, because I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't try to run it. I mean, if you don't want to run Trick, you're just going to have, what you're going to find yourself doing is like basically babying your Latios, because you're going to have to send out Latios. I almost said normal summon, and then basically like, you know, make a double switch, predicting them to go into their Fairy and something that can, you know, take their Fairy. You're going to have to baby it, in which you know. If you're competitively, you don't really want to have to do that if you can avoid it. So Trick is definitely going to be something that you're going to see on Latios, I really feel like. As far as some Gen 6 specific sets, these are some sets that I created on my own. So it's a Dragon Dance set for Latios, something that's out of the blue that they won't expect. Adamant or Naughty is the nature. EV's max attack, max speed. Item is Life Orb. You need to run Life Orb. You don't have a choice because Latios' attack isn't that great, and Life Orb is going to get you those KOs that you need. The moves: Dragon Dance, Outrage, Steel Wing, Earthquake, and HP Fire. Yes, Latios gets Steel Wing, so after, you know, they're going to switch in their, you know, Gardevoir, thinking that they can wall you. You're going to go for a Dragon Dance, and then you're going to proceed to KO it with a Steel Wing, because I did the calculations, and even a max HP, max defense Gardevoir is OHKO'd by Steel Wing from a +1 Life Orb Latios. Did the calcs. If Blissey becomes a Fairy type, Blissey definitely can live one hit because Latios' attack isn't the greatest. But another thing to note that I didn't mention about Dragonite is that after a DD, Iron Tail, OHKO, Blissey, and Gardevoir, even if they're max HP, max defense. And this is again assuming that Blissey becomes a fairy. We already know Gardevoir is a fairy, and Gardevoir is most likely going to be an OU Pokemon because Gardevoir is pretty much a near perfect Latios counter. If based on a perfect Gen 5 Latios counter, but Gardevoir definitely can't wall these sets that I've come up with. And then the next set is going to be a mixed wall breaker set for Latios, which is the nature is going to be naive. The EV is going to be max attack, max attack, max speed. I thought that was a typo, but it's not. Item, Life Orb again. Then your moves: Steel Wing / Hidden Power Steel. And I know that sounds so weird, but I feel like you're really going to see these type of weird things for dragons because they're going to have to do something to deal with the fairy types. Like you might even see like a Choice Specs Latios carry Toxic just to wear down some of those fairies. Something like that you would never have seen in Gen 5. But Steel Wing or Hidden Power Steel, I feel if you're gonna run Hidden Power Steel, you probably should run max Special Attack. But I feel Steel Wing's much better because again, if Blissey becomes a fairy, you don't want to hit that with a Special Attack because super effective Special Attacks don't do anything because it's Blissey. But Steel Wings will do some respectable damage to Blissey. Obviously, Draco Meteor, the stab move, just rain down death from the heavens. Then Earthquake or Hidden Power Fire, and then Psyshock. Hidden Power Fire is the last move spot. Obviously, Earthquake and Ground and Fire are really good coverage moves for dragons. But Psyshock is just another option, just to again, another thing to hit Blissey with. If you run HP Steel, you probably should be running Psyshock. Or if you run Steel Wing, you can get away with running HP Fire over HP Steel. So it's just up to your preference. But this is going to be a mixed wall breaker set for Latios, and it's going to allow it to break through some of those walls that you're probably going to be seeing now. I really feel like Gen 6 you're going to see those stall teams come back. The Skarn Bliss core, especially if Blissey becomes a fairy, is going to come back. So these are these are things that I feel like are going to change because Gen 5 was definitely a offensively based metagame. It's just hyper offensive teams all over the place. It was super hard. That's why you really didn't see Blissey too much in Gen 5 because there's so many things that hit so hard. Terrakion, Keldeo, Haxorus, Dragonite, Salamence, Choice Specs Psyshock from Latios. I mean, all those things hit so hard. They just hit like straight up trucks, and you just really couldn't play a defensive game. It was a lot harder to play defensive. So I really feel like Gen 6 though has the potential to be a bit more defensive than Gen 5. So these mixed wall breaker sets for these Pokemon are going to be really, really useful, I believe. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you liked it. Feel free to leave comments about what you think about stuff that we've talked about here, and stay tuned for my next video where I do the next 5 Pokemon. I'm out of here. Deuces.